So I've always had a rule on my show, basically. I have opinions, and you can have opinion on my opinion. But I'm not going to have an opinion on your opinion on my opinion. I'll make an exception because I think this is instructive. So I said the other day, I said, Micah Parsons is a stud athlete, but through the years, this summer I had a conversation with a general manager, and he said, don't be surprised if Dallas moves off him, even though he's in his prime, because he's not a versatile player. He's a great athlete and a great player, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. But the Cowboys tried to use him at linebacker, and it didn't work. He doesn't have fast eyes. He's one of those classic. Hassan Reddick was this. He's a much better player than Hassan Reddick. See quarterback, go get him. See ball, go get it. There's no knock on that. He's a world-class athlete. Well, he didn't like when I said that. He put up a tweet yesterday, said, hey, we just held Saquon Barkley to 60 rushing yards. Our only losses have been holding teams to 13 points. Man, sometimes can y'all please just blankety blank? Stop giving people mics or listening to trash. So let me just say this about your great job against Saquon Barkley. 7 of 9 Philadelphia Eagle games this year, Saquon Barkley has rushed for 60 yards or less. The Dallas Cowboys held him to 60 yards. The Eagles can't run the football this year. That wasn't great defense. That is the inability due to injuries and other reasons. Philly can't run the ball this year. That's why they're not as dominant. That was not a great Packer performance. It was a consistent Eagles run game performance. So the Cowboys defense last year with Micah, 31st. The Cowboys defense this year without Micah, 31st. And again, but the argument here isn't about who's right, me or Micah. This is instructive. There are certain players in the NFL, very, very infrequent professional athletes that do a bunch of stuff well. Wemby, ball handle, hit a 3, block a shot, post move. Jokic can do everything. Best passer on the Nuggets. Best post guy on the Nuggets. Best rebounder mostly on the Nuggets. Best shooter at times on the Nuggets. That is rare. Ohtani can do everything. Most baseball players, the great ones, are Freddie Freeman. Man, can he hit. Ohtani can do everything. Jokic and Wemby are versatile. Luka's a great scorer. Carmelo Anthony was a great scorer. He wasn't a great playmaker, a great defender, a great rebounder. Melo and Luka are great scorers. And that, for great players, even great players, that's it. Christian McCaffrey's a versatile player. Bijan Robinson's a versatile player. Adrian Peterson was just a great running back. Micah is essentially Tyreek Hill. For the record, both traded in their prime. Tyreek Hill's never been a great blocker. He doesn't run great routes, but he'll probably make the Hall of Fame because, man, he is great with a deep ball. But Andy Reid moved off him.
Yes, Andy Reid moved off him, and I get it because building teams are hard. But let's be serious here. Patrick Mahomes would benefit from Tyreek Hill. Let's be very, very, very clear about that. Andy Reid's life would be made a lot easier, okay? Also, don't confuse Andy's greatness and the defense greatness and Spag's greatness and Mahomes' greatness with moving on from Tyreek Hill. They don't need him. That's, there are also exceptions to the rule. You're talking about one of the greatest coach-quarterback duos in the history of the universe, okay? So, let's chill out there, okay? Let's come on. What are we doing here? When did they have their best offense? 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. Yeah, they had a great offense in 22. There was a lot of dink and dunk who Nick Wright himself admitted to. They had the shortest average depth of target and the maximal yards after catch. Masterclass Andy Reid. And Mahomes. But, that's not the reference point you use, okay? And now, listen, I agree. Holding Saquon to, 60 or less yards is not this big, grand statement that Micah tried to say it was because that's the Eagles have struggled with that. Their whole O-line is a mess. Lane Johnson was in and out of this game. They've struggled to run the game. And also, you held him to 60-yard rushing, but, he had nearly 100 yards of offense or so. I think maybe probably even more than 100, because if you had 60 rushing and then you had the that big run that he had, the big, the spin move, which ended up being a reception. But the reality is this Packers defense has been elite. It has been great. It has been special. And Colin downplaying this defensive impact on the Eagles game as a whole. Like, again, I agree that they don't deserve like all the credit in the world for slowing down that run game, because that has been consistent. But they played defense. Their defense was awesome against the Philadelphia Eagles. I watched that whole game. We live streamed it. My biggest takeaway that I just kept repeating again and again and again, and I was not saying this as like a tongue-in-cheek, like how Nick says it, of like, oh, the Chiefs, every team against the Chiefs, it's their Super Bowl. The Packers were treating this as if it was their Super Bowl. There was, especially defensively, the intensity was through the roof. It literally jumped out of the screen. It was giving me anxiety. I had angst about it because I was just like, does this game have implications that I'm unaware of? I'm like, this is intense right now. I was like, oh my gosh. And they deserve a ton of credit for that. A ton of credit for that intensity and execution. They played great. That knockout punch on Jalen Hurts, like, I give all the credit to that defense for making that play happen. So, like, and that took away points off the board. That could have been a touchdown, quite frankly. The way how they were driving, at the minimum, obviously, at least a field goal. So don't downplay this right now. Jalen Hurts was getting flushed out a lot. Jalen Hurts had to make a lot of awesome plays with his legs, whether it was a straight scramble and run for yards, or whether it was, to kind of scramble and to try to buy time to make a throw. But that defense is brutal. That is an elite defense. And I said this last year. The Packers had the best defense against the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs. No question about it. No question about it. And my whole argument for that game was like, listen, you were injured, this, that, and the third, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you got a front row seat. This has been my consistent take for months. Immediately after that game, and as the games and as the weeks and months have unfolded, it was like the Eagles won that game because Jalen Hurts in that moment was an elite game manager, and that's what it takes sometimes. And we saw Jordan Love's inability to manage that game, forcing some throws, having some turnovers, and it was just like, that's you got a front row seat of how you can win a Super Bowl, and how even throughout the course of the playoffs, 1 minute you're going to need to be a game changer, which he was in the Super Bowl, which he was in the NFC Championship game. But against the Green Bay Packers, you just need to make the right plays, just need to take care of the ball, just need to be smart. And that was because of how elite that defense was for the Green Bay Packers. It was strictly because of the defense from that Green Bay Packers. I did the whole clip show because everybody after that game was like, what's wrong with the Eagles? What's wrong with Jalen Hurts? And then, like, it was a Dan Orlovsky clip. We were looking at all the film, and it was just like, no one's open. And that's the way how this game was. Nobody was open for the entire game. There was 3 or 4 like really nice plays, which again, there were scramble runs, they were off script. Then the Devontae Smith touchdown was just a beautiful throw and an even better catch. But they made it absolutely brutal for this Eagles team. And yes, this Eagles offense right now is not firing at all cylinders. It is not this super high level offense that we had seen last year, for instance. And that's fine. That doesn't take away from the defensive impact that the Packers had, though. So we don't have to downplay that. Multiple things can be true. I say that all the time. Multiple things can be true. Sometimes only one thing can be true. It has to be this or that. Which is it? Sometimes it's, 8 or 9 different things are true right now. And that's the case that we're in right now. So, has he fallen short of expectations in Green Bay? They have a top defense. Were you saying that if you add Micah now that they're guaranteed to have like the number 1 defense, a scoring defense of like 8 or something? Like, I mean, I don't know. Micah's why they have that tie, because of what he did to Dak. That was crucial. That could have massive consequences for seeding for the Green Bay Packers. It could be the difference between winning the division and not. Like, he can only do so much. You are limited as a defensive player, no matter where you are. But, has he fallen short of expectations in Green Bay? Micah's not the story right now. He's not the story. Did you want the Packers to win this game 7-3? Like, I don't know what the conversation here is. So, I'm going to make a separate video about what Colin said about the whole having opinions on my opinions or whatever. Because that's literally what I do in terms of, not only do I have opinions of his opinions, but she says it's okay. So, I appreciate that, Colin. Thanks for giving me the green light. But also the fact that he says he doesn't have opinions on his opinions. And I do. I have opinions of people's opinions on my opinions. That's like a foundational component of all of this. That's the interaction. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, put it in the comments and I'm there. I'm there to discuss it. I get after it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, as I do read every single comment. So please do comment. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.